going to start with 7:30. Okay. Thank you very much indeed for coming this evening. We're going to start with item 50, which is apologies. And
do we have anything? Chairman, I've got apologies from Councillor D. Sumner.
Thank you very much indeed. And next on to the minutes for the previous meeting, starting on page 7. 7 to 24. Do members have anything they'd like to raise from the minutes? Either corrections or... No? Okay. I'll take the minutes as read then, and I'll ask everyone to show their hands if they're happy with the minutes. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, next item is declarations of interest. Does everyone have any? Thank you, Stuart.
I'm to declare a personal interest in agenda item 55, shareholder report. I'm a non-executive director of WBC Holdings.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. I need to declare a personal interest in agenda item 55 also. The shareholders report. My wife is a paid non-executive director of WBC Holdings.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
And I'm the same, but it's me, not my wife.
I think that's it. Okay. And then we'll move on to item 53, which is the public question time. And the first person asking a question tonight is Rachel Bishop-Furr, and that's a question for Councillor Oliver Russell. If you'd like to come up and ask the question. Thank you very much.
The ongoing Woking Town regeneration and other developments mean that the council borrowing is set to balloon from the 28 or 29 million we owe at present to around 271 million by 2019-2020. The council's plans include knocking down a relatively new sports centre and moving out a relatively new purpose-built library into another new building. The plans also appear to rely on us being able to find tenants for the new shops which are being built, despite the fact that many of Wokingham's high street shop spaces are filled with charity shops and cafes. A debt of 271 million for the council means a debt of around 4,200 for every household in Wokingham. What's the council's plans for paying this debt back, including how long will it take?
Thank you for that question. The decision to replace the existing leisure centre and library, I think, are financially sound, and they provide best value for local residents. They create a far improved facility. They're co-located. The facilities will be more flexible and can be used by a wider community. And will also benefit from lower operating costs. Due to the co-location and the greater sustainability, such as the inclusion of solar panels and improved insulation and sound protection. You asked about the regeneration. Residents won't have to pick up the cost of the regeneration. Woking Town Centre regeneration is being run as a commercial project, and it does not rely on taxpayer funding at all. Income from the scheme will be used to offset the costs of delivery and borrowing. So in fact it's a win-win. It's a very good scheme all round. The town centre development is set to secure an annual commercial rental income in excess of £4 million a year once the development is completed. This will enable the outstanding debt to be repaid and serviced and then repaid, and also will allow an additional income of £3 million per year, which will come back to the council and will be used to fund services and projects across the borough. Whilst there will always be a risk when it comes to securing tenants, which is one of your points, the council has a proven track record of finding tenants for their buildings, and we've already secured 65% of the total income for Elmsfield, and are in active discussions with businesses interested in coming to the town centre. As Peach Place doesn't open until December 2018, it's in its early stages, and you can't expect to have tenants lining up at this stage. but we have had conversations with both national and local businesses and independent retailers who are interested in coming, which gives us confidence in the scheme. Your last point was about the debt. Our Treasury Management strategy for 2017-18 forecasts external borrowings to increase from £150.1 million at the end of 2016-17 year to £271.2 million by 2019-20, which is, I think, the figure you mentioned. This is to fund our capital programme, which invests in schools, the town centre regeneration, council-owned properties, and invest to save schemes. Some of this borrowing is to invest in our local infrastructure, such as highways, bridges and crash barriers. This is charged to the council taxpayer. Other elements are run more commercially, with capital investment funded by borrowing until the borrowing can be repaid and the asset provide a financial contribution to the council, thus reducing charges to residents and taxpayers. But this borrowing is funded by future receipts into the capital programme from developers, and the council is only borrowing short term to invest in infrastructure prior to funding from developers being received. So the council will also receive its investment in local authority companies as their loans are repaid, and this will be in addition to the interest payments and dividends the council will receive. And as I mentioned before, the borrowing is also funded by receipts from the sale of the town centre assets as the regeneration goes forward. So you can see that the vast majority of this is not down to the ratepayers to pay back, but from specific sources of repayment. And our capital investment seeks to provide revenue savings, and in these cases, some of the revenue savings are set aside to pay back the borrowings on initial investments. And it is planned that the borrowing and repayment, the current approved levels of planned borrowing and repayment, it will be possible to repay all of this additional borrowing between 2017-18 and 2019-20 in 9 years' time.
Okay, thank you. And with those projections of income, what account have you taken of the recent opening of Lexicon in Bracknell and the rapid increase of online shopping, both of which could severely impact future footfall and revenue in Wokingham?
Well, we have taken that into account. I don't think we're trying to compete with Bracknell any more than Bracknell's trying to compete with us. We'll be having a separate kind of town centre to the Bracknell one, and we are confident that we will find appropriate tenants and our plans are not changed.
Thank you very much for your question. The next question this evening is from Keith Meldrum.
Thank you very much. I have a question at last to the Executive Member for Highways and Transport. It goes like this. In response to the Wokingham paper's successful campaign for free parking, the Executive Member reported that the number of parking tickets this August was 18% higher than the same month last year. If that is the figure for Wokingham Town, can you tell me the equivalent figure for Woodley?
Good evening, Keith. Thank you for your question. The answer is a little shorter than the previous answer. Yes, I don't
have it in front of me.
Very well, so there it was.
I can read it as you talk.
The answer is the equivalent figure for Woodley from August 2016 to 2017 was a 6% increase in car parking usage.
Do you have a supplementary?
That's it, I'm afraid.
It is a significant shorter question, but one of the things that I will immediately ask is this in usage or is this in financial returns? We might like to address that in that case. We understand that Woodley is a trial. I think we would all agree that Woodley is a trial. What the idea was to assess which of the two schemes would produce the most revenue for the council, and therefore the most successful. We have a big need for regeneration income in the short term at least. So are you able to say now which of the two schemes, alternative schemes, is producing the higher return, and hence whether naturally I would like to put my money on the one that's producing the most money. So who's going to change?
Well, I did use the word usage in my answer, so we're talking about the number of tickets. So
Number of tickets.
Number of tickets, yeah.
Number of
Right, as you probably know, the trial has been run over 12 months, and the decision on whether it is satisfactory in Woodley, which would allow them to carry on with their tariff scheme, which is different from the rest of the borough, will be assessed at the end of January when we are able to look at 12 months data and not just 1 month.
Bearing in mind what you're going to report later on, you have a challenge.
Thank you very much indeed for the
Thank you.
question. Thank you. Okay, the next question this evening is from Peter Must, and again it's to Councillor Chris Barron.
It's all right. Waiting for your attention. In respect of the welcome proposal to allow a period of free parking in Woking Town Centre car parks in the months of November, December and January, could the Executive go one small step further and permit free parking for the whole of Sunday in the car parks identified, on the grounds that this would further encourage visitors to use the town centre and at relatively little cost, since there would be free parking from 3 p.m. on that day in any case?
Thank you, Mr. Master, for your question. The £3.8 million joint Borough and Town Council Town Centre improvement project is part of a long-term vision to safeguard the future of the town through investment and regeneration, and to bring in income for the borough as a whole. While shops can see the benefits that are coming and are excited about the future, their concerns are about the short-term impacts of the current works. The Council has taken a number of steps to help shops and other businesses during the difficult construction period, including the introduction of free after 3 parking, which I will be talking about later. The Council considers that this is a fair and reasonable investment to support shops and other businesses during this difficult construction period. It must be noted that any concession on parking charges in one part of the borough must be paid for by the borough as a whole. A stakeholder workshop was held last night in Woking Town Hall to generate further initiatives, and these will be considered by the Council. At present, there are no plans to further extend the free parking times.
Supplementary. Since it's approaching Christmas, might you alternatively, or as well, be considering, as has been sometimes the case in the past, giving people free parking on Saturdays, really to encourage people to come in very busy shopping periods?
Charles? Since we had the meeting last night, we have been discussing that, and there has been a precedent for free parking on Saturdays in this particular town, and we will be looking at that again because it has been something that has been done in this town, certainly over Saturday periods leading up to Christmas, and we'll have a look at that again.
Right, thank you very much. And then we'll be find out. Sorry, no, it's a supplementary and a supplementary, but when you tell us.
Sure. I'll let the press know as soon as possible, but obviously I'll
And the
need
public.
to, and the public, and it will be before Christmas. It's a good time.
Good.
Thank you.
Which year?
Okay, next on to member question time. And the first question this evening is from Gary Cowan, and it's to Councillor Stuart Munro.
I will, Stuart, I shall ask the question standing in my name. I would make an observation, a bit like planning. They have a table here and 2 chairs with a bottle of water or whatever for the people who ask questions to ask. Would it not be possible to do that at the executive? Because people like me, it's a bit of grief standing up for a long time and the answers are very long.
You sit down for a long time.
Thank you, Gary.
I will.
Please do sit there. I guess, yeah.
I will.
I guess I've got a lengthy answer, so I will.
Thank you.
When we embarked on the regeneration project, you may recall, Gary, that there was some cornerstones that we set down, and rather than just remind you what they are, and deliver the local plan infrastructure required for over 4,000 new homes delivered in and around Woking Town Centre, and to help create an aspirational town centre that would deliver the quality of offers that residents desire, and that would help us differentiate ourselves from our larger neighbours. The third objective was also agreed by the regeneration, that we must support the wider borough and all residents. So, the objective was broken down into several key requirements. That this must be commercially viable and delivered without cost to the residents, be they residents of the town or the wider borough, as Councillor Hill has just explained in more detail. that it must secure income for the council to reinvest in local services and projects both in the town and across the borough, that it generates jobs to help strengthen the local economy, that it reinforces Working's vision as a great place to live and an even better place to do business. Obviously, we could extend all of these things forever, but I can assure you that all of this is without any cost to the local taxpayer. We will refer to the regeneration as an investment in the community for the community, and it sums up what we've been able to achieve with the regeneration. I hope it's a model that we can apply elsewhere in the future. But what does this mean? It means that the value assessment that makes the project financially viable is what we are using to ensure that the project can be delivered without, and I repeat again, without cost to the local taxpayer. Remember, this isn't money being thrown into a black hole, but the money is invested in physical assets, in bricks and mortar that have financial value, either by selling them to generate capital or by retaining them to raise an annual rental income. There's lots of numbers banding around about this project, but I'd just like to summarise that by saying the total cost of delivering the regeneration proposal for Woking Borough Council sits at 115 million. That includes the cost of delivering everything from the new shops, the cinemas, the play area, park improvement roads, brand new leisure centre. But this total cost also includes the cost of borrowing the money to fund the development, as this money comes from commercial borrowing rather than taxpayer reserves. As this programme is being run as a commercial development, the residential elements are then sold with the income being used to offset the cost of delivery. This leaves the council with a completed scheme debt of 47 million. That's a debt of 47 million for physical assets retained, which are actually worth 88 million. Not a bad investment, especially when you're considering the community benefits of the scheme has delivered. The council could also retain the commercial assets and continue to benefit from the rental income generated each year after using some of the rental income to service the debt. The council would receive a further rental income of just under 3 million annually, rising over the years. That's millions of pounds a year coming from the council coffers, coming into the council coffers, totally non-dependent on local taxpayers' money, and central government funds can be used to fund services and projects across Woking Borough. A great investment for all, and in my opinion, better than the Bracknell deal.
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, so proves the need to want to sit down while you're asking a question. It takes so long. What I think the concern at the moment is, and thank you for your answer, it's very, very helpful, is that there's questions from members of the public, and I think from another member later, and it all goes back to how the trades are functioning during the present situation with the building going on. And last month, it seemed to be over my dead body reduction in car parking charges. And the only thing I would suggest is that the Lib Dems proposed a 2-hour during the day scheme as against a restriction for nothing to happen until 3 o'clock. And what I would ask is, would you look at this as the months go on towards Christmas, because Christmas is a period when the traders, it's make or break for them, and I would hate to see the 3 o'clock start cause problems for them, and I would ask you to make sure you look at that in advance. Thank you.
The answer to that is yes, and I think we mentioned that earlier. We are looking at all of the ideas that came from last night's meetings. That is one of them.
Thank you very much, Gary. The next question this evening from the member is Councillor Rochelle Shepherd-Devay, and it's a question to Councillor Norman Jorgensen.
Hi, Norman. What made you think that asking to move the Winch allotments to a new site in June was a good idea when it's right in the middle of the growing season and when the new allotments are not even built yet?
Okay. Thank you for your question. Maybe I can answer firstly by asking you a question. What made you think that the existing allotments will close in June? The current timescale for the delivery of the replacement allotments envisages that the new allotment should be available for use by early summer 2018. However, the existing allotment holders at the Winch allotments will not be required to leave their existing allotments until at least autumn 2018. The Council has planned for this overlap in order to minimise disruption to the current allotment holders.
Do you have a supplementary?
Yes. Since you don't have permission from Edinburgh Rail to build the road, to build the bridge yet, when will you actually need the allotments then for the works? Chris is going to want to get to that supplementary.
Take it, David.
Or David.
All I can tell you is that the completion date for all of the projects, the 5 new bypasses, the 3 bridges to the east, and that bridge is 2021. That's the latest completion for all of those. I can't give you an answer on that specific one, but I'm sure I can get that for you.
Get an answer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. The next question is from Councillor Imogen Shepherd-Bay, and it's to Councillor Stuart Munro, and I think it might have been written before.
Hello. Yes, I know I submitted this question about 2 weeks ago, so things have moved on then, but I'll say it anyway. With regeneration turning Wokingham Town Centre into a building site, the impact on traffic through the town, the opening of the lexicon, and now the introduction of traffic wardens, local retailers are suffering badly from a reduction in footfall and therefore revenue. This has caused shops to close, and some of our larger key retailers have left the town or are in the process of leaving. What is Wokingham Borough Council doing to support the remaining retailers, particularly the smaller independent ones who have character and keep people coming into Wokingham Town?
Well, thank you for your question, Imogen. We did discuss this last night, as you know,
Yes.
at an extensive workshop. I will give you a very, very detailed answer, but I think my colleagues would be upset if I was to go through every single thing. But I have a couple of points I'd like to bring out, I think, and that is that some of these businesses that closed are for reasons outside of working, and car is one of them. The business went into administration. Things like Wetherspoons, there's a lot of interest. They've given a year's notice to go and do something else, and a lot of people would like to take their place. But I'd like to just pick on a couple of points. About the traffic warden reference is a bit worrying, I think, because more rigorous enforcement of parking will only make the borough safer, but this is particularly around the schools, but also provide a greater turnout of shoppers in short stay spaces, where people were parking illegally all day. So. Anyway, as you know, we had a meeting last night. We reviewed all of the pieces that we put in place. We've got more ideas to consider, so I won't go through all the list of the things that we'd already discussed with them. So we do feel the pain of the shops and the businesses, and we've taken action to help them. We will continue to do so in ways that we discussed in detail last night, and others that we also heard last night. But the other one thing I'd like to urge everybody really is that all local members and others do start talking the town up. The town has great shops, cafes, pubs and restaurants. It's very much open for business.
Well, I appreciate what has happened in recent events with the free after 3 o'clock. It's a good start. I'm also aware of what Councillor Cowan said in terms of the 2-hour floating window. But my concern is the scheme that I know you're going to discuss on Agenda 58. It only goes up to the end of January. What's the plan for towards the end of January? What after that?
Yeah, I mean, we chose end of January so that we, got the January sales. We just as a window in time. By then, of course, a lot of it will be of the town centre internal work. The traffic works would have certainly moved on a base. We hope. But again, we'll look at it with all sorts of ideas that came out of last night. It might be, I don't know, whatever might come out of that might help the system. We're listening and we're going through all the options.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, on to the first agenda item tonight, which is page 25, the shareholders' report, and I'm going to hand over to Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. What's being presented is the financial summary reports for the month of August and for the 5 months of business this financial year to the 31st of August. WBC Holdings is the group holding company, and the figures presented include the results for the individual companies as well as the holding company's income and expenditure. Wokingham Housing Limited, one of the subsidiaries, has the largest variance from budget for August due to unforeseen legal costs. Also for the 5 months to date, the consolidated figure shows a loss of 173,500 against budget of 163,100, a variance of £10,400. Wokingham Housing Limited has 7 projects under development and 9 sites in their pipeline. which is very encouraging for the future because these developments will produce income for the future. Berrybrook Homes recorded a profit for the month from rental income from Phoenix Avenue, and Phoenix Avenue is not even fully occupied at the moment. We have 41 units occupied. So that's also encouraging. Loddon Homes is arranging for the transfer of residents into the new Foster's Extra Care Home, which is another Borough Council development. This will take place in November with full occupancy expected in January. And the Octalis Group continues to show profit better than budgeted, and the new CEO has been in place since September and is working on a new 3-year plan. Any questions? No. If not, the recommendation is that the Executive is asked to note 1, the budget monitoring position for the month ending 31st of August 2017, and 2, the operational update for the period to the 31st of August 2017.
Thank you, Councillor Whittle. Before moving on, I think it's really important to note the finances in the report here and the number of schemes that are actually in the pipeline. We have lots of really good news to shout about, but some of them are just coming online very shortly. We've got a board down here which shows some of the schemes that we're building out at the moment and what they will achieve when they're actually delivered. And I'm just going to run through some of them because it is really good news, and what we're doing here is quite different to some other councillors who haven't even started putting a shovel in the ground yet. So I just wanted to say about Grovelands, that's 6 units, 2-bedroom houses that we're delivering for affordable rent. And the gross annual income from that scheme will be over £58,000 per year. Reading Road, which is for care leavers, that scheme is going to be really, really important for them. And the gross annual income from that will be again over £58,000. We're building 34 self-contained independent living apartments with on-site care provided by Optimus, another one of our companies. And that is coming online, as Earl said, in January for people to move into. And again, the annual income for that is over £212,000 per annum. In Barrack Crescent, we've got 2 2-bedroom maisonettes for shared ownership. And this is something that, is another different option for people. And that has some sales value, which is over £200,000, and also some rental income, which is over £5,000 per annum. Phoenix Avenue will be opening officially later on in November. And as we've said already, many of the units are already open, but in total there'll be 68 different types of units when that scheme is finished, and there'll be affordable and social rent as well. And the gross annual income from that will be over £500,000 per annum. And Elizabeth Road, another really good news story, which is 2 3-bedroom homes, and that's shared ownership. So that's really good news for families that are moving into that. And the gross annual income from sales there will be over £245,000, and also some income from rent as well. So in total, it's really, really good news for our borough, and this is just the start of it. So we'll go to the recommendation on page 25, which all of those read out. All of those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next item on the agenda this evening is page 33. It's the revenue monitoring for 2017-18 for the September Q2 in Councillor Whittle.
Thank you. This report covers 3 funds: the General Fund, the Housing Revenue and the Schools Block, and their forecast results for the year 2017-18. First of all, the General Fund is forecasting an overspend of £159,000, reflecting forecast expenditure of £130.5 million against a budget of £130.34 million. We're seeing pressures on adult social care packages, agency staffing across social care, home-to-school transport, and virtual school services in learning and achievement. These are the causes of the £256,000 forecast overspend in people services. An additional £300,000 is requested for social care, deprivation, liberty, and multi-agency safeguarding, all very important areas that we pay a lot of attention to. The net expenditure forecasted overspend of £159,000, the additional £300,000 requested, and the £878,000 of budgeted expenditure carried forward from last year, 2016-17, can be accommodated as the general fund started the year with a balance of £10.036 million and is forecasted to stand at £8.699 million at the end of the year. The housing revenue account forecast net underspend of £2,000 for the year and a year-end balance of £4.052 million. And the schools block is forecasting to be overspent £385,000 as the high needs block is having difficulties due to new commitments and covering out-of-borough income. And at the end of the report there's also the council funds where we invest our surplus funds, and we have £71 million under investment and under our own management as at the 30th of September.
Thank you very much indeed. Does anyone have any questions or queries? Okay. Just to clear up on one item that you mentioned, which is virtual school services, just to sort of bust the terminology there. That's for our children in care. We have each of our children in care has personal education plans, and they have people to make sure that they're achieving their full potential. And the virtual school is the care that's wrapped around them to make sure that that's happening for our children in care cohort. So we'll take the recommendations on page 33, recommendations 1, 2 and 3. Everyone happy with the recommendations as written? Okay, thank you very much indeed. Okay, moving on to page 47, the capital monitoring 2017 to 18, end of September, and again, Councillor Osborne.
Thank you. This is a quarterly report up to the end of September, and it shows an underspend of £890,000 against a budget for the year, mainly due to highway infrastructure flood alleviation schemes. The capital budget for the year is £124.744 million, with an expectation that £99.236 million will be spent and £24.6 million carried forward to next year. This arises across a variety of areas. A new budget of £150,000 is requested to move residents of Gorsride South to allow for the regeneration of Gorsride, which will provide new high-quality mixed tenure homes, which is a very good thing for the borough and for those residents who will get much improved homes. And we have received a ring-fenced grant of £245,000 for the Ryosh Green Sports Hub. And this has been received from the Football Foundation. Again, good news.
So, have any questions? No? Okay. Really good news about the Ryosh Green Sports Hub. Obviously in my ward, so I'm very biased about it. But we have a lot of young people really interested in football there, and I know that this will go a long way. And the pitches have been refurbished there, and we've also got a new floodlit court, Astro pitch indeed, so that's great. And also the new pavilion and club room is shortly to be done, so all good news for our area in Shinford. So the recommendations are on page 47, recommendations 1, 2 and 3. So does everyone approve the recommendations as written? Lovely, thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next item, we've had some questions already on this, but page 55, the temporary free parking from free in Woking Town Centre car parks that are owned by the council. So I'm going to hand over to Councillor Chris Barrow.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Since the Woking Town Centre improvement works began, the unavoidable disruption has caused a decline in footfall and consequently difficult trading conditions for the businesses in the town. During this period, we have been monitoring the usage of council car parks to ensure they continue to attract visitors into the town. The figures for August this year, compared with August last year, showed an increase in the number of tickets sold of 18%, which we judged very satisfactory. The September figures, however, have not been so good, showing a fall of around 10%. Although this is not a calamitous fall, it is enough in my judgment for the council to make a prudent and proportionate response. The proposal before the Executive tonight is to have a period each day from 3 p.m. to 8 a.m. the following morning when parking in our car parks in Woking Town is free. This would extend for the 3 months from November to January, which covers the most important trading period of the year. There will be a consequent loss in revenue to the council in car park charges, which we estimate to be £48,000. With £1,000 needed to change the signage in the car parks, we therefore need also to approve a supplementary estimate of £49,000. The proposal, which will be known as 3 after 3, as has been mentioned several times, is sensible and easy for motorists to understand. I hope it will have the desired effect, but in any case, we will continue to monitor our car park usage in the future. So can I call members to support the recommendation? There are 2 separate items there on page 55. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Does anyone have any questions or queries or comments? No? Okay. I think this is very supportive of this paper. We've gone out and we've listened to businesses, and also we've been able to react in a swift and positive way to help them mitigate some of the issues that they've brought to us about the marketplace refurbishments, and also some of the other regeneration works that have been going on in and around the town. We've tried to propose a solution that will help them, but also stop commuters blocking up the spaces, which if we did free parking all day would surely happen. We propose to do this now because we understand obviously that we're coming up to the peak period of Christmas, and many people will be getting their pay packets at the end of October and going out spending in November, and obviously straight up to Christmas as well, and the sale periods are really important for these shops and businesses as well. We had a really positive meeting last night with our stakeholders, our businesses, the town centre as well. The town council also supported us, and they told us about what was important for them. And of course, you know, regeneration has had an effect, but in the end, it will be really good for this town centre. And we're trying to find positive solutions to work our way through this. And all of our businesses, whilst suffering through this period, some of them, not all of them, did come forward with lots of really, really good positive solutions. And we will be going out to the media in the next few days with some of those solutions that are joint and can actually put into practice. We will get out, as I said, a comprehensive list of things that we can do. So I'm really pleased to be able to bring this paper here, and the recommendations, as Chris has said, are on page 55, 2 recommendations, and I'd like to propose those this evening. And everyone happy to support those recommendations? Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda does have papers, so you just have to read this out. Under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public can be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act as amended as appropriate. That's if we want to discuss anything that is written within the papers. So I'm going to hand over to Councillor Stuart Monroe.
This is a good news item, I think, with a lot of nervousness about our letting strategy and are we going to actually get the right people in these new developments. So this is a specific, the first part is very straightforward, specific letting for Peach Place scheme, and details of which are commercially sensitive, so that's the reason for the big papers. Yeah. And also, the second half of this paper goes to try and streamline the process, such that all future tenant lettings, so that we can move quicker, won't go through this whole process of coming in and leaving each individual one, otherwise we have papers going on all evening. But I think we've got a pretty strong outline of what we're doing, and so the proposal is to all future lettings under the letting strategy be delegated to the Director of Corporate Services in conjunction with the Executive Members of Business, Economic Development and Regeneration and the Leader. And that is what we had proposed to do. So I would recommend to the Executive that we take this good news. It's first good tenant for Peach Place that we're looking at, and also streamline the process going forward in the future. Happy to take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions in part 1, first of all? No. Does anyone have any questions in part 2? No? Okay, then the recommendations are, 2 recommendations are printed on page 59. Is everyone happy to approve the recommendations as printed? Nothing? Okay. That's it. Thank you all very much indeed for coming to see me.